Hey guys, this is Johan, and this is not chocolate pork as some of your Filipino parents might have told you as kids. It's Dinuguan, or Filipino Pork Blood Stew. It's rich, extremely packed with flavor, and just so delicious. Today, I will be walking you through the process of making this dish from scratch, step by step. If you've ever had the opportunity of having this dish before, what do you think? Let us know if you've loved it by leaving a like and by commenting down below. If you haven't tried it yet, man, you have no idea how much goodness you're missing out on. Now, this recipe, devised by my mother Grace, is probably unlike anything you've ever had before. It's classic, but also different. Familiar, yet distinct. I'll tell you exactly why in a minute. As usual, let's begin by preparing all of the ingredients needed, which along with the measurements, we've already listed down for you in the description box below. It's gonna be quite a handful, so please bear with me a little bit. Here we have 2 different cuts of pork for a more appropriate meat to fat ratio and for better texture, as you will see in a while. Both of which are cut into 1 by 1 inch cubes, but with a thickness of only half an inch, for better browning and sauce adhesion. To the left is pork belly or liempo for that rich fattiness, and to the right is pork shoulder or butt, also known as kasim o pige in Filipino, for that flavorful meat. We also have some lemongrass or tanglad, minced garlic, sliced ginger, soy sauce, diced onions, sea salt, white vinegar, whole black peppercorns, fresh or dried oregano leaves, white sugar, pork bouillon cube, whole bay leaves, and of course, pork blood. Now that oregano right there is our secret weapon for that distinct aroma and flavor that blends in so seamlessly with this dish. Now, let's cook. Pour the pork belly into a large enough pan with the stove set to medium-high. Our objective is to brown the pork belly for that chicharron-like aroma and texture, and for it to render its fat, which we will be using to saute the rest of the pork and the aromatics in. We are cooking in a pretty hot pan, so make sure to continuously stir the pork to prevent it from burning. Some sticking might happen underneath, which is completely normal. There's no need to worry about this. About 5 to 7 minutes has passed and our pork is now brown and has rendered a considerable amount of fat, which means it's now time to saute the rest of our ingredients. Pour the minced garlic into the pan and continuously stir until aromatic. Then add the sliced ginger and do the same. Now let's do the exact same thing with the diced onions, but only 2/3 of it, then save the rest for later. And as you might have guessed, repeat this step with the lemongrass as well. We normally use fresh lemongrass for this, however, given the current circumstances, we've resorted with a frozen one due to the local Asian store being closed. Still ended up being great though, so I'm not complaining. Now add the whole bay leaves and saute till aromatic as well. Afterwards, add the entirety of the pork shoulder and constantly mix everything up until browning starts to happen. Although not as brown as our pork belly, as we want contrasting textures between these 2 cuts of meat. While sauteing our pork, we can now add our soy sauce and stir until homogeneous. Then add the white vinegar, pork bouillon cube, oregano, whole black peppercorns, white sugar, and sea salt. Once again, mix everything up in the pan to dissolve the pork bouillon cube, and to make certain that the seasonings are evenly distributed and properly coat all of the pork pieces. Remember, we are still browning our pork, so maintain the heat at medium-high until no sign of pinkness is present. Then bring the heat down to medium. At this point, the meat will start to bring out its own moisture, which we will be utilizing to tenderize the pork in as we let a slow simmer occur. It's going to be quite a waiting game depending on the pork used, so sit back and occasionally check and stir everything to prevent from sticking to the bottom of the pan and to ensure even exposure to heat. I don't know if you've noticed, but what we practically did so far was make a dish that highly resembles a Filipino pork adobo, just with the addition of ginger, lemongrass, and oregano. This is to guarantee an impeccably seasoned dish well before we even add the last of our main ingredients. It's been about 20 minutes and it's now time to add the defining element of this dish, pork blood. Immediately stir upon adding to completely dissolve and merge with the sauce. Now we let it simmer again for about another 20 minutes or until just before we achieve the level of desired tenderness. If you still find the pork to be a bit tough for your liking, just add half-cup increments of water for continued simmering until it becomes tender enough. Once we get there, add the remaining 1/3 of our diced onions for that added sweetness and aroma. This also contributes to the overall texture of the dish. Stir the onions until evenly spread out. Now, all that's left to do is to carry on with the simmering till we've reduced the sauce to a consistency that is thick and rich enough. Once again, never leave your cooking for long periods of time without checking in and occasionally stirring so as to avoid sticking. Also, never forget to give your cooking a taste and feel free to add whatever your taste buds find to be lacking. Always remember that seasoning is not an exact science and is ultimately subject to personal preference. We've been high simmering our dinuguan for about 10 minutes now, and it seems that it's ready. I mean, just look at how beautiful that is. The only thing left to do now is to transfer the contents of the pan into a dish for serving. Dinuguan, along with the rice or puto, also known as Filipino rice cake, is just sheer bliss. It has that delectable richness and a kaleidoscope of flavors, but it never comes off as overly satiating, thanks to that balanced taste of salt, sweet, sour, and umami that offsets its fattiness. Words can't fully describe the complexity and depth of flavor from this dish. The only way to comprehend it is to try and experience it for yourself. Before you leave, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts for helping us reach 1,000 subscribers. We are truly, truly grateful for your support and for your interest in the videos that we love making for you. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please leave a like and a comment to help us out with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to be the first one to know of our next cooking video. Once again, this is Johan, and thank you for watching another episode of Graz's Kitchen. See you next time.